I first started studying Japanese ceramics when I was in high school in Japan. I was a student in Japan for 2 years. And then after studying Japanese ceramics, I wanted to learn the origins of Japanese ceramics. So I went back to study Chinese ceramics. And I studied the ceramics of the Song dynasty. And I felt, well, that's the top of the mountain. Once you go to the top of the mountain, you don't want to go back down again. So I've been concentrating on Chinese Song ceramics for 40 years. I worked for 10 years before I opened my gallery. I worked for a truly important artist, Hiroshi Sugimoto. And this was something that Sugimoto taught me. Maybe the most important lesson that he taught me was that to be a successful art dealer, you have to have the eye of an artist. And to be a good artist, you have to have the knowledge of 5,000 years of art that happened before you. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Artistic inspiration happens when it happens. You have to keep yourself open all the time. I go to museums all the time. I can go for years without a good idea. And then suddenly a good idea happens, and then I have to work really hard to make it a reality. Certainly the object portraits were like that. You know, I've always been sketching art, antiquities. I've always been photographing antiquities. But when this object portrait idea came to me, then I worked very, very hard. I bought a very powerful camera so I could get the best details. I worked very hard to make it something because I had to act on that inspiration then. And similarly, sometimes artistic inspiration happens from necessity. So, for example, this series behind me here, which I just call my food series, happened during COVID because I was stuck in my house. I had photographed every ceramic in the house. I wasn't allowed into museums anymore to photograph their pieces. And so I started photographing food because that was what I had. I think certain things lend themselves to traditional scroll mounting. Certainly this does. This makes a lot more sense as a scroll than something in a modern frame. Likewise, my form poem it's basically a landscape. I mean, it's a visual poem that should be read in one direction, but it's also a landscape. And it's very much related to Chinese landscape scrolls, hand scrolls. So yes, certain things lend themselves to certain kind of mounting. The object portraits, again, related to American abstract expressionism, I think are better served in modern frames. Soulfulness, Why We Collect Song Ceramics. That was the title. And I wanted to have this translated into Mandarin. And I contacted several people, and nobody could come up with a word in Mandarin that meant exactly the same. And so we tried to back into it by saying, okay, let's describe the meaning of soulfulness and see if there's a word for that in Chinese. So we decided that the best description for soulfulness, definition, was imbued with a sense of human emotion. And this is why, one of the reasons why I do what I do is to try to visually create a presentation for that word or that feeling.